What's up, PolitiSport Gamer here, and I just wanted to give this quick video on SENUA'S SAGA and how Luke Stevens agrees with me about the length and the drawbacks with the original game as compared to this game where it's basically the same game. I used a couple of clips from what he thought of SENUA'S Sacrifice and the time of development for SENUA'S Saga, in my opinion on what he said, and then my short opinion about the game. So please subscribe, like, and comment, and enjoy the video.
I loved the original. I thought it was groundbreaking in a lot of ways. It was really novel and interesting how they handled the discussion over her mental illness and tied that into gameplay as well. It was fascinating how they handled it. It was from a smaller team. It was a game that kind of came out of nowhere and was just really high production value, super, super cool. And I loved the original Hellblade, even if it had faults, which it did. Combat in it was terrible. The puzzles were pretty bland and boring after the first hour or two. The game was super short. Some people reported getting through it in like 5 hours. Others, it took more like 7. And there was a lot of walking and a lot of just slowly moving through like a very tight track to the next area. Still, I think worth playing, especially on Game Pass and stuff, but it had problems, even if the rest of it was pretty good.
There's going to be a lot of agreement I have with Luke on this video, talking about SENUA'S Sacrifice and SENUA'S Saga. I totally agree with him about SENUA'S Sacrifice. Puzzles at first could be cool, but they were very repetitive and got boring as time went on because you're doing the same thing, trying to find same symbols. And the fighting got repetitive because basically the same fight every time. I didn't mind at all. The game was very linear. I don't mind linear games. But SENUA'S Sacrifice was a decent game, and it was good that it was on Game Pass. I don't think anyone would find value buying that game. And it looks like it's going to be the same thing with SENUA'S Saga. But let's see what Luke says next.
The sequel has been in the works at this point for 7 years. 7 years, okay? To be clear, as we mentioned on the podcast today, that is enough time from the time that they launched Batman Arkham Asylum to the time that they launched like Arkham Knight. That's like less than 7 years for Rocksteady. Like that's how much time we're talking about here. Okay, like this is an immense amount of time. That's like enough time for other studios like Santa Monica Studios to get both God of War and God of War Ragnarok out the door. It's the same amount of time for Insomniac to get like Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 out the door. Like this is a lot of time is what we're trying to communicate, okay? Like it's almost enough time to develop Starfield. Exactly, almost.
Again, I agree with Luke on this one, and he's astonished that this game took 7 years. I am very surprised that this game took 7 years. And most people could say, oh, it's an independent studio. There's not many people working on this. But Microsoft bought this company in 2018, and they put Xbox money into this game. And I'm sure a lot of resources to help make this game. 7 years is forever when developing this game, a 5-hour game. And again, people will say motion capture. It doesn't take that long to do that motion capture. I bet most of it was done in weeks, maybe a couple of months, not years to do this motion capture. And you can't blame the COOF 2 with this, because a lot of studios got games developed during that time. And I'm sure they got most of the motion capture done either before or after that. This was just a surprising amount of time that it took to develop this game. A 5 to 6 hour game. And Luke agrees with me. He showed many examples, Spider-Man, God of War, that it took a lot shorter time to do multiple games. Not one game, multiple games. And I don't mean to harp on this game all the time, but I just want to make these videos to explain my disappointment in this game because I thought it'd be much bigger. I thought it'd be like a 15-hour game. Just linear paths that you walk in and go into the battles and a lot of cinematics.